very rational culture,
Mm-hmm.
made me really disconnect from my gut feeling, which is in my human design, how I make decisions as a generator. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really started to like make me disconnect from what felt logical, where is a lot of our conditioning is.
Ana Maria Tromp is a career and business coach who helps women move from career survival to career freedom. With 20 years in human resources, she blends practical strategy with the transformative power of human design to guide her clients toward fulfilling work, increased income, and more freedom with their time and energy. After transitioning from a 9-to-5 career into full-time entrepreneurship, Ana Maria tripled her income as a single mom. Her passion is putting freedom of time and money back into the hands of women. Thank you so much, Ana Maria, for being here. I'm really excited to have you on the show.
I'm so excited. Yes.
So, the bio gives a little bit of a teaser, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with you about your journey and your process of how, like your story of how you came to be where you are today and doing the work that you're doing today with women.
Okay. Okay. So I'll start in what to me was kind of like the thing that ignited my love for personal development. And that was when I was 27 and I burnt out. So I felt like I was at the top of my career. I was where I thought you graduate and this was what life was meant to be. I was making enough money that I could travel, and at the same time, I was doing something that I truly was passionate about. I really love what I have chosen to do, but I was also working 60 to 80 hours per week. And then I felt the need that I need to enjoy life, so I was like making myself go out on a Friday night and have those dinners that I was thinking that that's what grown-ups do.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, on a Monday morning, I just could not get out of bed. It was like literally, I just cannot get out of bed. And it did not make any sense because I was doing something that I love, but was completely unaware of the signals that my body was giving me. So I burned out at 27, and I described this as a glass that fell on the ground and it broke into pieces, and I could not function anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
the high achiever perfectionist in me was like completely like in denial that that would happen to people that were weak. That's
Mm-hmm.
people that burn out are people that are just doing something wrong, and these people are weak. And it took a while for me to accept that. And it was that moment of I don't ever again want to be here, and acknowledging that how certain aspects of how I grew up were like the perfect ingredients in the perfect circumstances that
Mm-hmm.
led to this. So at the beginning, it was like my work, this, and it was my employer, and they no one stopped me. And until the point that I could recognize that, okay, like even if they would have stopped me, there was something in me that needed that validation that I was receiving at work that kept
Mm-hmm.
me going and going and going. And let me prove to you that I could do this. Let me prove to you that I am enough. And so that was like I was a drug addict on validation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I burnt out, and that started a personal development journey. I needed to look back at my past, to see how I landed here, but also like make a very conscious choice. Okay, yes, I was raised to have a better life than my parents have, but this is not the result that they had in mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked the pieces that I wanted to carry on in my life and ditch the things that were no longer having an added value
Mm-hmm.
for me. And so that started the personal development journey. And at a certain point, I am originally from Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I was back then in the Netherlands. And when I came back home, which is Aruba, I then had that second moment in life in which I really like felt like so misplaced, even though this was home. It took me like conversations took me so long, and I decided to do a coaching training. And that was the moment that I realized, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life.
Mhm.
And it was like this moment in which you found what you were looking for, but my brain then started to crunch numbers like, how am I going to make a living out of this?
Mhm.
And that took like 5 years before I really understood that it wasn't about crunching the numbers. There were like really innate deep fears related to transitioning in my career to something that felt so irresponsible. It
Mhm.
felt like I was like taking this risk of something that, and I remember that moment in which I literally said, I cannot do this because I'm afraid that I'm going to end up living under a bridge.
Mhm.
And so I needed to have a strategy. I needed to have a way. When I said that, I realized that I was really expressing unrealistic fear,
Mhm.
and that I needed to like really have a strategy to transition and to do the thing that I felt that I was called to.
Mhm. So, can you kind of go into details about like what was that strategy for you? Because I think that's a very typical struggle that people have when they're going from, a regular 9 to 5 where they have a steady paycheck, and like to a certain extent, what do they say? Um, like a six-figure salary is like the biggest killer of desire or something like that, because it's like just enough to give you like a good lifestyle, but it keeps you from wanting more or from taking those risks, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, what was it for you that like what was the strategy for you as you went decided to implement this, and also helping you get over those fears of doing this transition?
I think that like the major piece was experiencing that everything that was my comfort zone, which was my salary, just exactly what you say, like that was the thing that I was working so hard for. So my
Uh-huh.
background is human resources. And so to me, the ultimate dream was becoming HR manager. But
Mhm.
in that moment, I already had discovered that feeling of, oh, I'm going to be a coach, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so my heart and my brain were just not syncing.
Mhm,
And so what I felt back then was this feeling, okay, I know what it is that I want to be doing. But this I'm making a living out of this. This is what I dreamt all my life when I decided to become an HR professional. And
mhm,
so in that moment there was that my like I feel the universe like this, it was my calling. And what it felt to me is that the universe, once you feel that,
mhm.
um the comfort zone starts to become very uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
And so there was a board in the company I was working with that changed, and it felt like they were like bullying me. That's how it felt
Mhm,
to me. Uh, the director changed, so which whom I had a very good relationship with, and it was on. I remember it so clearly because it was pre-COVID. So the first cases here were on the 13th of March,
mhm,
and I had a day off before, and I stepped in my car and I cried the whole way home.
mhm,
And in that moment, it felt like I got home and it was like so uncomfortable. So that security that I had became so uncomfortable. So it's a combination of things.
mhm.
That one is that you have this calling, and on the other side is like that comfort zone became very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that I said that I got home and someone asked me, like, okay, but if it's making you this sick, then why don't you quit? And I literally said, I'm afraid that I'm going to live under a bridge with my kids. And the moment that I said that, I just thought, oh, this is crazy. Like, there is not even a bridge in Aruba where I could live under. Like, we don't have bridges. What am I like? What is this? And so, it specifically when I talk to women, when you have been through in your childhood through financial adversities of you saw your
Mhm,
parents go through that, you receive certain messaging that condition you to really work towards creating financial safety through your work.
mhm.
And what happens is that any change that might feel like risking that is something you're going to avoid. Like
Mhm.
you're going to avoid that. And so sometimes it takes that comfort zone to become very uncomfortable, and you need that in order for you to really start seeing things with from a different perspective. And that's what
Mhm.
was part of my story. Like my zone became so unbearable that I was crying on my way home. And because I had experienced that with a burnout, it was like, oh no, we're not, like, we cannot go there again. Like I
Mhm.
cannot experience this feeling again. That
Mhm.
I love working. I think it's something that gives me fulfillment, but it cannot make me cry.
Mhm. Yeah. So there's a few things that you have said that I want to kind of connect the dots because you were talking about like your parents and like their mindset and how that kind of gets ingrained. And you had also mentioned it's like the perfect storm of things that made you unhappy when you were thinking about your past and the way you were brought up, right? And then so I kind of want to talk about like the conditioning and, I think generally speaking, parents mean the best for us, like they
Yes,
want the
sure.
best for us and they teach like they do the best that they can with the resources that they have and the way that they know how, right? And so I
Yes.
don't think that normally none of this comes from an ill-meaning place, but a lot of the time our parents' beliefs get ingrained into us and what worked for them or for their parents doesn't work for us. And so then taking that leap to kind of, break those things. And you said you like took the things that work for you and then discarded the things that don't. So I want to talk about that process for you and how that worked for you into taking this transition.
Well, I think that growing up with parents that wanted me to have it better,
Mhm.
right? And as you say, they had the best intentions for
Mhm.
the next generation to have be at a better place. But it did come with like it had all the ingredients in place to make me this high achiever perfectionist in recovery now, right?
Mhm.
And so things as you have to work hard are really subconsciously ingrained in here. And
Mhm.
so that makes that um I was always over delivering, over performing, overworking, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so it had the best intentions for me to like really work hard and be at a better place, but it also made me do everything in an exaggerated amount, outside of my role in my company, of outside of what was expected from me in my job.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was something that um, not only comes from your upbringing, but also what you're seeing around you, right?
Mhm.
So I grew up in a culture in which what you want to do is work for the government and build your pension.
Mhm.
And you work towards that point that's the ultimate goal.
Mhm.
And then doing anything else that feels like, oh, but I'm passionate about fashion or I want to travel the world is like, no, 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 we're not doing that. Like that's not gonna give you financial security. And
Mhm.
so it's our different aspects that impact how we make certain career choices, as well as how we experience the intensity in which we experience our career as well.
Mhm. Mhm. So how when you were going through that transition, like what did it look like for you when you made the decision and quit your job? Like what was that journey like? Cuz not an easy thing to do at all.
No. And I go back to that moment that I was referring, like hearing myself say I'm gonna live under a bridge. But it was like a pivotal moment in understanding that, okay, there are people that don't have your background, don't have your education, and are making it work. So we need to find out how to do that. And around that time, it was COVID time.
Mhm.
I got to work from home for a very long time,
Mhm.
and that gave a lot of space also and
Yeah.
calmness. I know that
Yeah.
a lot of people experience a lot of difficulty, but to
Yeah.
me, that was kind of like one added bonus to that. It also was a period in which I discovered human design. And so,
Mhm.
human design is based on your birth date, place, and time, creates an energetic blueprint
Mhm.
of how you best operate in the world
Mhm.
and create less resistance and more abundance, in a nutshell. And
Mhm.
so, what that brought to me was kind of like, okay, if this is how I'm supposed to be, this is what would work best for me, I am completely drained at the end of my day. And so
Mhm.
in human design, my energy type, which is a generator, that is like completely a sign of out of alignment. And so
Mhm.
the strategy came from knowing my human design and discovering things that were so out of alignment that I started to implement that in my personal life. And it kind of became the thing that I started to see, oh, but this is also applicable within my career.
Mhm.
And mostly because my background is human resources, the job that someone within human resources has is, I have this position, let's just see it as a box, and how can I find someone that fits in that box? And
Mhm.
human design is the contrary to that. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
there's this person, this is the best way they operate, and how can I then create a position or create a life that matches that? And
Mhm.
so to me, I started to like little by little like started implementing it in my life and seeing, oh, okay, but then this is also something that if I apply in my career, then I get to find something that matches me instead of the other way around, me
Mhm.
matching that job or that
Mhm.
company.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, that's one of the things that it's almost like we are doing things backwards, because we think like, what is the job that I can get versus like,
Yeah.
what is the life that I will actually enjoy living? And so I mean, I don't know, I want to go into human design more
Okay.
because I've heard of it, but I've never done a deep dive into what it is. But like
Okay.
the idea of like, when we're in school, I remember this vividly, right? When I was young and I was in school and they made us take this test, right? And it was like when computers were first I'm dating myself here, but like it was when computers were first like allowed in the schools or whatever, right? So we had a computer lab and we were going there and we took this test about like what career path is good for you, right? And I remember looking at this career path list that was pooped out of the computer, and I was looking at all of these things and I'm like, this is so boring, like,
Oh,
I don't wanna do any of these things? And so but I think the way that we're generally brought up is to, like, what are the jobs that are available and pick the best one that, you can do the best or whatever, rather than what is possible and how can I design a life around what is possible, right?
yes. Yes.
So
And so that's exactly what human design did for me on a personal level, but also in my
mhm,
career. And
mhm,
so there is certain information. So there are five energy types. Let me just start there. And so there
mhm,
are five energy types. There is the generator, which is the energy type that generates energy by doing something they love and they feel like called to. So they light up by the thought of doing it. Then you have a manifesting generator, which is also an energy type that generates energy by doing things they love, but they are very multi passionate. So my clients that are manifesting generators are lawyers that make bags and also do project management
mhm,
in foundations. You have the manifester, and that's the energy type that sometimes has a lot of energy, sometimes they don't, but is the only energy type that initiates things. So
mhm,
they tend to kind of walk up front everyone and function in a different way. Then you have the projector, and the projector is like this little bird on a tree that sees things from different angle. And
mhm,
um they are genius in systems and making improvements because they see things from a different angle than all the other energy types that are walking on earth.
mhm,
And then you have the reflector, and the reflector is like this chameleon that um absorbs energies, so doesn't generate energy on their own. It's like 1% of the population is a reflector. I've only have had the pleasure to have two in all the hundreds of people that I've done human
mhm,
design with. And so I will kind of keep it to my own transformation. I have always thought that I was an extrovert, but because other people would see that in me, but not the
mhm,
way that I felt. And
mhm,
so there is an information in your human design besides your energy type that is your profile. And your profile speaks towards how you play your role in this world. And so my profile consists of the two and the four, and those are two energy lines. that one is the introverted and the other is the extroverted.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was looking at, okay, this is no longer it. I do not want to proceed a career in HR, but I know that it's coaching. It
Mm-hmm.
really informed the way that I structure my business because I live on an island that everyone wants to make things personal. And so
Mm-hmm.
everyone wanted me to have an office that they could come and visit. But that was not the thing that felt to me in alignment with how I would play my role the best. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was really like a bold move to say, no, I'm only working online.
Mm-hmm.
So I offer coaching service, it's online. Even if you're living next door to my house,
Yeah.
I will do that because that is the way that I would function the best.
Mm-hmm.
And so the four is the networker. And that means that the majority of my clients come from my network. And so I needed to combine those two. I need
Mm-hmm.
to combine building that network where I meet people. And so the majority of my clients come from that. And so it
Mm-hmm.
really impacted how I set up my business, but also how I help my clients create that next career move based on their energy type, how they play their role, what comes naturally to them, and what they
Mm-hmm.
should avoid. So
Mm-hmm.
some people sending cold emails will work based on their human design, and other people it's a matter of you need to prioritize sending voice notes and really talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was how I got to create my business now in a way that becomes it comes because it comes easy to me and it's based on what works for me. It doesn't feel like I'm actually working. That's
Mm-hmm.
my best description of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you get introduced to human design in the first place?
I I joined anything online during COVID because I thought, okay, I'm home. Let me just use my time. And
Yeah.
I think it was someone that was giving, that was part of a program, I think, on how to build your coaching business. And it was
Mm-hmm.
someone talking about that. And it kind of clicked. Like it
Yeah.
was like, I think it was even the second time that I heard about it. But the
Mm-hmm.
second time, and that's often something that I hear a lot of people say, like, oh, I did hear back then, but it was the second time that I saw it that it instantly clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I went into that rabbit hole. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
reading everything, I was discovering everything, and then later I certified in human
Mm-hmm.
design. Yes.
Okay, amazing. If we had had our ducks in a row, I would have gotten you to do my chart, and then we could have done a deep dive for people on my. Oh man. Um, so, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about was like when you finally made the decision to like step into doing your own business, did you do it slowly over time, or was it like cold turkey? Just one day you went into work and said, "Hey, I'm quitting," or like what was that process for you? You.
Okay, so 2020, I had that moment and then I discovered human design, so I started implementing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2021, I turned 40. So I am really dating myself. So it's like really, I turned 40. And I think there is something magical uh, that happens to us as females when we reach the age of 40 or 50.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember wanting to do like this big party always, but that was not possible because of COVID. And so I
Mm-hmm.
ended up booking a solo trip to Costa
Mm-hmm.
Rica. And in that moment, I had the most magical. There's something magical when, as a mom, you get to have like alone time.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, like going to the restroom or like even that, like taking a
Yeah.
shower without being interrupted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or and so I had that amazing experience. I get back home and within a week I was empty. Like I
Mm-hmm.
never experienced that level of highness in energy and I get home and within a week I'm empty.
Mm-hmm.
And based on my human design, my energy is like my indicator of things are in alignment or not.
Mhm.
And so I got back, had a terrible experience at work, and I decided in a moment, okay, like, are you going, like, you're 40 now, on a good average, you're gonna have more 40 more years.
Mhm.
Would you copy paste the last 40 years in the next chapter in your life? And the
Mhm.
answer was immediately no. And so in that moment, I needed to be very honest with myself that even if I would have a new board of directors, even if my boss would change, even if I would get an assistant, I would still not want to be here.
Mhm.
And I was there this morning for a special occasion. Someone at work invited me for a special occasion there. And I was sitting this today there, and I felt this like deep gratitude of that moment that I was honest with myself, because
Mhm.
the moment that I realized I could change anything in the circumstances, but even then I would not stay here,
Mhm.
was the moment that I started to be honest with myself. Okay, and then what are you going to do to transition? And
Mhm.
so I promised myself that within a year, like I was not going to be 41 and still in the same circumstances.
Mhm.
And so I tend to do things in big, big leaps. So
Yeah.
I ended a relationship that I was in back then. I then 2 months later quit my job because you cannot use that as an excuse to stay where you don't want to be.
Mhm.
And I then, by the end of that academic year, I quit. I was working at the university. And so I
Mhm.
quit. But then experienced a lot of like grieving of the chapter that I was not prepared for.
Mhm.
I was barely functioning because I was grieving the end of a relationship, and I was also experiencing a lot of triggering thoughts around the uncertainty of that thing that I wanted the most, right? Like I
Mhm.
wanted to quit my job and be a coach full time.
Mhm.
And so it was a big transition. It took me a couple of years of running my business next to my full time job to the moment that I decided, okay, we need to like make this big move.
Mhm.
But then also deciding such a thing without knowing how to make money, how to overcome the things that subconsciously hold you back
Mhm.
is like really detrimental to your health.
Yeah.
And so it felt to me, oh, but how is this possible? Like I'm the one making these choices, and here I am crying on a bed and not even being able to create an income.
Mhm.
And so it's not the thing that I recommend to other people to do,
Mhm.
because having your own business is the biggest personal development journey that you can have, but it's also very triggering to your nervous system. And
Mhm.
if you don't understand that part, you're going to resent your calling or the thing that you dream of for the wrong reasons, actually.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it took a while before I made the jump. But when I made it without like really having a strategy, really understanding how to make consistent income,
Mhm.
um, and like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Mhm. So
Yes.
was that your method, like throwing spaghetti at the wall or and like seeing what stuck? Or like as you coach women through this, like you went through it yourself first, right? And then you coach women how to do it, right? So I guess like what worked for you, what didn't work for you, but then also let's move into how you work with clients and how you help them make those transitions as well.
Yeah. Due to my own personal experience, I got to experience the hard way what it meant to not being able to um, make money in your business.
Mhm.
And so, what I now focus on, because I understand the part of this strategy
Mhm.
as well as the part of how your subconscious mind holds you back
Mhm.
from taking that leap,
Mhm.
I really focus on helping women have learned those things while they are at their current job so that they can transition with ease.
Mhm.
And so it's like you deciding one day that you're gonna skydive and you just step on a plane and you just go up and you have not gotten any description, any information, you have no idea what you're doing, versus having prepared yourself, read
Mhm.
enough, be up there, see the distance, and
Mhm.
have a parachute. So I help women
Mhm.
build a parachute based on the things that they need to work on specifically to transition,
Mhm.
because it's gonna be scary and you will never be ready for it, but you want to get yourself as ready as possible for when
Mhm.
that moment comes.
Mhm.
And it is needed for you to have clarity on what it is that you want to do, because otherwise your nervous system is always going to stop you. It's gonna
Mhm.
say like, why would we quit? Like we know what we have here. And so you stay in the familiar hell versus the
Mhm.
unknown heaven that you're so desperately want.
Mhm.
But having the clarity on what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to make money doing that, but also for example, like something in my subconscious mind, I was there. I was at a point in which people would approach me work with me, but then I would not return the calls or I would not send the proposal. And
Um,
so the things that um the core wounding of that was my fear of being rejected,
mhm,
right? And so even though I understood that this is exactly what I needed to do, I was just not doing it. And so
mhm,
what would happen was that then there was no money being made, but I
mhm,
could not understand because my brain kept offering me very legit reasons why I was not doing that.
mhm,
I needed to do groceries. I needed to pick up the kids. I needed to clean the house and and
mhm.
there was always something that seemed very legit why I was not doing the thing that I needed to do to actually make my business work.
Yeah.
But what the brain does is that if your business works, then there's also things that yes, you're having on the one side the things that you want, but there is also something that you're risking by being visible in your business. You risk being judged, sending the
Mhm,
proposal, you risk um, getting a no. So
mhm,
you want the yes, but you also risk getting the no. And so
mhm,
I understood by my own experience exactly the things that were on the strategy side needed, as well as there are things in your subconscious mind that will keep showing up. And the funny part is that when I look back, these were the things that also in my work were present in a different shape and form.
mhm,
So what I notice a lot is that um, you a lot of women get in this moment. My COVID story is not the only one. That really sparked something with a lot of people, and
mhm,
so they are currently in their job. They are not satisfied. They're literally miserable, and it's the boss, and it's the underperforming colleagues, the um, feeling undervalued because of what they're getting paid, and so they start their own business or they make a completely different career change, but then they land within a year, 1.5 year in the same position because you have not worked on the things that the limiting beliefs and thinking patterns that keep you unhappy where you are right now, but will
mhm,
also make you unhappy in your future next career step if
mhm.
you don't discover and work on them.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize was is like sometimes without doing the work, we create our own hell, you know? And so it's not always just the boss or like you said, right? It's not always the boss or the colleagues or whatever. It's we're not taking the steps to discard those limiting beliefs and fears from ourselves. And so, exactly like you said, it just follows us, right? Because sometimes we might think, "Oh, I just need a new job," right? And so then
Yeah.
you go from job to job to job to job, and it's like the same pattern repeating over and over again. And so, until
Yeah.
you create that shift inside, you're not going to see change in your external reality.
And kind of like getting back to I need to work hard with my burnout. The deep wounding was there is a not enoughness that makes you overwork,
Mhm.
overperform, over deliver, right? And
Mhm.
so because you want to be validated by your work. And
Mhm.
so that shifted, right? I started
Mhm.
to improve that. And so I was working the hours and I was doing the thing, but the
Mhm.
intensity in which I was still experiencing my work was very intense. And so that
Mm.
did not mean that I was not tired at the end of the day. But then when I was at my last job, it felt like, oh, there was a point it was like, oh, it's everything. Like it's my boss and it's the environment and the toxic culture and everything. Right. But I was still doing a lot. It
Mhm.
wasn't burnout amount of hours, but it was still very a lot.
Mhm.
When I went into my business, the same I need to work hard, even though it was less than in previous moments because you have time flexibility. But now
Mhm.
you're doing something you love doing and you're
Mhm.
passionate about.
Mhm.
And there's no one telling you, hey, it's 8 o'clock at night. You should just close your laptop, right? And it's the same. I need to work hard in a different shape and form. And
Mhm.
so what happened was that I was like throwing myself completely into it. Like I was doing everything. I was learning everything. I wanted to be better in what I was doing. And so that that um thinking pattern does not magically disappear
Mhm.
because you change your circumstances.
Mhm.
And it's like constantly knowing, oh, okay, it shapes different next level, different devils, but
Mhm.
it truly is something you need to constantly do the inner work, because otherwise you might think that you're overwhelmed is because of the circumstances, but that's absolutely not the case. Like I
Mhm.
keep repeating to women, like, if you don't change that, you might think that your overwhelm is a time management problem. But if
Mhm.
that was the case, you would just watch a tutorial, get you some gel pens and stickers and
Mhm.
a good planner, and it would have been solved. And so
Mhm.
if overwhelm is kind of the song you've been dancing your whole life, then it's not changing the circumstances, it's something internally, and it's often limiting belief and thinking patterns that keep you for, like, it keeps you overworking while being underpaid and undervalued.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and one of the things, one of the concepts I think, like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because I definitely come from this idea, like, you need to work hard to be successful, and I think that's ingrained into a lot of people, and, especially I mean, I think it's for everybody, right? But there's this idea that success is suffering, right? Or like if you have to suffer, then that means you're working. And if you're not suffering, then you're not working hard enough kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about this idea. Like, why do we have this kind of idea ingrained in our head that we must suffer in order to be successful? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, it's kind of like the thing that I keep on focusing and working on, because
Mhm.
the first, I think it was my third month that I was full time in my business, and I remember like reaching the goal that I thought, if I get 3 clients paid me in full, that was the ultimate goal.
Mhm.
And it was mind blowing to me in that moment that I could be doing something I love while enjoying it and making good money with it. Like
Mhm.
that did not add up. And
Mhm.
so I immediately went into self-sabotaging. And I think that it's what you grow up seeing. So to me, it felt like I grew up hearing you need to work hard. And so if the road to success would have included easy and joy and pleasure, it doesn't add up with what my
Mhm.
programming involves, right? Because it would have felt like I did not deserve it. I did
Mhm.
not work hard enough to deserve it. And so,
Mhm.
but it's also what you see around you.
Mhm.
Like the majority of times, if you look around you, you see a lot of people that are really, are either fulfilled by what they do, but do not make enough money. And so are financially struggling,
Mhm.
or they have a lot of money, but they are like working constantly. And
Mhm.
so
And they
you
hate what
grow
they
up
do.
and they hate what they do. And so you grow up seeing a lot of people that work
Mhm.
and are miserable one
Mhm.
way or another. And
Mhm.
so our brain is an evidence making machine. And so it needs to prove what you know to be true. And
Mhm.
so I grew up seeing both of my parents like work a lot.
Mhm.
I grew up seeing a lot of people miserable at their work. And so I created that for myself, because
Mhm.
what I believe was, and I think the majority of people believe, is that you need to work hard. And so the moment that it was easy, I jumped into self-sabotaging, because my brain
Mhm.
like, this doesn't add up. This
Mhm.
cannot be true. And
Mhm.
so when that is your belief, having it easy and making good money is going to feel so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And you're gonna create ways in which you need to work hard, because that's the thing you need to prove to yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that is like a recipe for self-sabotage, right? And so like we all do those things. Like we all self-sabotage in some way, shape, or form. And I think the thing to remember as well though is like logically speaking, right? Like it's like sometimes your logic brain and your not logic brain, like they're not on the same page. But logically speaking, if everybody who worked hard like made really good money and was successful, then like every single mom who's working 3 or 4 jobs would be a billionaire, right? And
Yeah.
so it's just like we see it every day that just because you work hard doesn't mean that you're making good money, right? But for some reason we have this idea that making good money and success means suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we create them ways in which we are going to suffer. We need to prove ourselves right. It's
Yeah.
it's it's how we are wired.
Mhm.
Um, and understanding that is so crucial. So part of
Mhm.
the work that I do consists of the strategy part. I want you to implement your human design because based on human design, it really addresses what you just mentioned. And that is that we need to make decisions from our neck down based on what
Mhm.
is in your chart instead of from your head. Your brain,
Mhm.
based on your human design, is to make logical decisions. You want to wake up in the morning and step in the car and not need to find out or learn again how to drive a car.
Mhm. Mhm.
But based on my human design, when I started implementing it, and it was something that I always knew, I always said, but this doesn't feel good. But the transition of living in a culture, I went very young to the Netherlands, which is a very rational culture,
Very, yeah.
very rational culture,
Mhm.
made me really disconnect from my gut feeling, which is in my human design, how I make decisions as a generator. And
Mhm.
so it really started to like make me disconnect from what felt logical, where is a lot of our conditioning is, or a
Mhm.
lot of the programming we received growing up. And it made me like really connect with, oh, but I this is what gives me energy. Like this is what
Mhm.
what feels good to me.
Mhm.
And like that's how the human design kind of shifted it for me, that
Mhm.
things no longer needed to make sense in my head, they just needed to make sense in my body.
Yeah.
And when we receive so much conditioning, um, we forget that. We forget that
Mhm.
there is a not that your body is constantly signaling. And so experiencing in burnout was one of the first lessons that I needed to listen to my body. But then
Mhm.
human design kind of brought it home.
Yeah.
Um, and it also made me, instead of keep looking towards circumstances, which
Mhm.
are there, as well as what made sense to everyone else. Like, how are you walking away from a career that you built for 20 years that makes absolutely no sense? To do what?
Mhm.
Coaching? And then
Yeah.
I would hear people say, like, and so you're gonna work from home and that you're gonna make a living out of that as a
Mhm.
single mom. I'm 100% single mom. And
Yeah.
so it 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 didn't make sense in my head. It also not always did make sense for the rest of the world.
Mhm.
And I think that women are very, 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 very sensitive to that
Mhm.
because we are so being brought up to be the good girl. In my case,
Yes.
I was brought up to be the good
Yeah.
girl. And a
Yeah.
good girl is obedient. And a good girl doesn't take risks. And a good girl doesn't
Mhm.
get angry. A good girl
Mhm.
doesn't set boundaries
Mhm.
and wants to make everyone happy. Right. And
Mhm.
so it's been a journey of really getting back towards myself and
Mhm.
understanding um, but not only what comes easy and naturally to me and being calm with that,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
feeling awkward that it can be easy,
Mhm.
as well as really understanding that there is this internal system based on my human design that allows me to make decisions without me
Mhm.
having to constantly ask someone else what's best
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm.
And so I am passionate about human design because of specifically that, because
Yeah.
it really changed so much in my life. And combining that with what I saw, like I spent 20 years in HR, had experienced so many court cases of people that had a different calling, were at a job, actually present at the job, but internally had quit the job a long time ago
Mhm.
and only stayed because of the financial security.
Mhm.
So to me, what human design helps me do to my clients is help them really rediscover themselves. It's a personal development tool, as
Mhm.
well as build a career that works for you, but also allows you to make money in an easy way,
Mhm.
and with least resistance. So
Mhm.
it felt like, okay, check, 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 check. This is what I did
Mhm.
that helped me. So imagine if I could help other women do exactly the
Mhm.
same. And what I always hear is like, I always knew this. Like, I always knew this. And it feels more like a confirmation of what you always knew
Yeah.
for yourself
Yeah.
than something that is completely new.
Yeah. And I feel like, talking about, you're saying how you use your intuition a lot, right? And it's like when I was working in corporate, and this idea, like something just didn't fit, and it's like when I was working in corporate, and I had a lot of different positions and a lot of different roles. And I was working in corporate, and every single position that I had, like for the first 6 months, it's okay maybe because it's like you're learning the role, right? It's something new, so you're a little bit more into it because it's like, oh, this is new and interesting, right? But then when you settle into it, and then it's just like that feeling comes back over and over and over again, right? Of just like something is not right, like this doesn't fit, it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
so the idea of listening to your intuition, and again, getting over what you said about the good girl syndrome, right? Because good girls are supposed to like follow this very set out path. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you grew up anything like me. It's like go to school, get good grades, go to university, like get good grades there, like meet a man, get married, have kids, and then like work and take care of your kids and blah blah blah. And like that just really never resonated with me. And so as much as I tried to follow that path, like everything just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think one of the things that was really a big thing for me was one of my ex-boyfriends told me one time. He's like, "You just were not fun to come home to," because he's like, "You hate it." Yeah, he's just, I mean, his language a little bit more colorful than that, but he's just like, "You were really not fun to come home to." And so he's like, "You really just hated your job." And it's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I did." And now I love what I do.
But it makes such a difference. Like we just had spring break here
Yeah.
and I saw everyone like the Friday before like Easter weekend and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this last weekend of freedom." Because
Mhm.
it's gonna take a couple of weeks before we have a long weekend off.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, "Oh, I don't have that anymore. Like I don't have that, oh thank God it's Friday or
Yeah.
because it's like I don't have to be different in what I do
Mhm.
or show up differently in my personal life. It's just
Mhm.
me and my life serves me and my job
Mhm.
serves me. And
Yeah.
you then attract the clients that are meant to be working with you.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that life is not gonna be lifing. It's gonna keep happening.
Mhm.
But it's like really a difference when I look back at version Ana Maria, burnout, pre-burnout, during burnout. Oh my God, let's not even talk about motherhood and becoming a mom and how that
Mhm.
brings a ton of insecurities as well.
Mhm.
But it was like
Mhm.
the controlling version of me, right? So
Mhm.
I wanted to control everything
Mhm.
that was out of my control, the people
Mhm.
around me, my work circumstances, my partner.
Mhm.
And there's such a difference when you have really realized the essence of who you are, how to use that in your best advantage, how to make your life easy, and you know how to make money. Because I
Mhm.
think that that's such an essential thing for women. And we spend
Mhm.
so much time at work that we not only physically at work, we spend a lot of time thinking about work and
Mhm.
thinking about money. And I
Mhm.
think that my passion comes from that,
Mhm.
that it makes such a difference when you are in a toxic relationship and you don't want to be in a toxic relationship anymore and you know how to cover a very good lawyer to make that happen. Okay.
Mhm.
There is a sense of freedom, not only because of the financial aspect, but also because you're 100% sure of your decision
Mhm.
and you know that you're doing the best thing. Not it isn't easy, but it's the best thing in your best interest.
Mhm.
And all of that coming together to me came from this really deep sense of knowing myself outside of the condition that I received growing up,
Mhm.
being this good girl, obedient girl that does everything by the book.
Yeah.
And I think that we underestimate the importance of how much time you spend in your work when it comes to this part, because it
Mhm.
influences so much. Like it influences the same thing. Like when I hear you say that, like, I just can look back at my partner back then when I was 27 and burnout and thought,
Mhm.
oh, he got all, like, he really had a lot of
Yeah.
patience because I
Yeah.
was really miserable. I was really not fun to be around, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I wanted to talk about, like, I think a lot of women suffer from this, like, good girl syndrome, or this, like, expectation of the good girl. And so I wanted to talk about the clients that you work with. Do you see, like, a common theme among women that you're helping? Like, some of the most common things that your clients struggle with, and how you help them overcome those things?
Yes. So I we tend to attract the people that are kind of similar to us. So,
Mhm.
my clients often are high achievers, perfectionists, want to do things by the book. They really have those struggles of having been obedient for the majority of their life. And the
Mhm.
majority of them have reached a point in which they know that this no longer is it.
Mhm. Mhm.
They keep telling themselves that they don't know what's next. I offer a free career audit in which I help you get clarity. It's completely free. It's on Zoom. And within 10 minutes, it's like, okay, I know what I want. I just needed to kind of like have those confirmations. So
Yeah.
often, to protect ourselves from not making that leap of faith that we want to transition to, we keep telling ourselves, I don't know what I want. And so they have that all in common, that they keep telling themselves, I don't know for sure, or I know, and then they get stuck on the how. And so
Mhm.
the way that I help my clients work with is that we get clarity on what it is that you want to do.
Mhm.
I help them create a strategy based on their human design on how they can transition.
Mhm.
There's a lot of strategy that is like clearly, is it an online business? And so that's how I could use your human design to make it easier for you.
Mhm.
Or is it that you want to transition? I've had teachers that want to become interior designers, for example,
Mhm.
right? And so
Mhm.
that is like really feels like very irresponsible because you have kids to feed. And there's a part of it that is has a lot to do with the identity part. What I notice is that people think that making the decision to transition in your career or start your own business kind of automatically comes with becoming the CEO of that business.
Uh-huh.
And there is a gap between thinking as an employee and showing up as someone that needs to learn to make money, needs to
Uh-huh.
make decisions that are going to get you to create the financial
Mhm.
freedom that you want.
Uh-huh.
And what I really focus on is that it really breaks my heart when I see women that from where I'm standing, I know it's fear what's holding them back,
Mhm.
and so they settle. And we do that in relationships as well, right? Like,
Mhm.
you are no longer in that toxic relationship, but then you settle for the next best thing instead of the thing that you really, really, the person that you really want to be in. And that we do
Mhm.
that in jobs as well. And
Mhm.
so they choose something that kind of have the ingredients that they want, but it becomes this new cage. And so
Mhm.
you go from this one cage to the other cage and it looks different, but it's exactly the same. And so
Mhm.
if you that's not where you want to end and you're very eager to not land again in that other job that after a year just feels blah,
Mhm.
um you need to not choose a job where you can fit. It needs to fit you. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what I help my clients do. And so
Mhm.
we work a lot on the part of healing those thinking limiting beliefs and thinking patterns that will make you do exactly the same thing, because if you don't change that, you
Mhm.
cannot expect a different result.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So you had said something there about moving from employee to CEO, and one of the concepts that I really love is, like, because we think of CEO in terms of a business, right? But we never think about being a CEO of our own life, right?
Life, exactly.
Yes. And so I want to talk about, like, how do we reframe it to reflect that, we're not even just the CEOs of our own business, we're the CEOs of our own life.
I think by understanding that the way that we do one thing is the way we do everything,
Mhm.
and we forget that, right? Like
Mhm.
if you have a computer and it's programmed to do X, it
Mhm.
cannot just magically then do Y. why, right?
Mhm.
So um the way we show up at our work has a lot of structure that is designed for you to perform for someone else,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
you're being either receive a salary increasement based on a salary structure,
Mhm.
or because you perform a certain way, but it's someone else deciding for you.
Mhm.
When it comes to being the CEO of your life, if you're showing up that way, you're kind of doing that as well in a different
Mhm.
context. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, there's this version that I am meant to be this type of mom. That is what makes me a good mom. So if I do that, then I receive a certain
Mhm.
validation or uh, um, payment in one way or another,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so it takes understanding how you're showing up in life as someone that depends on other to be validated and receive certain things versus when
Mhm.
you are showing up. And as I walk today, because it's like really funny that that just happened today, and I'm like, I used to daydream. I was walking there and I was like, I used to daydream being here about the life that I now created.
Mhm.
But in those 4 years, it really shifted when I understood how I was showing up as the victim
Mhm.
versus now being the creator of my life.
Mm.
And so I refer to this that the moment that you're in your life and your stories have a lot of um you are this character in your life that things happen to,
Mhm.
you're automatically making yourself the victim.
Mhm.
And so it really shifts from, okay, and I've experienced that in which I felt like, okay, I keep showing up in my business and I keep not getting the yes from a client, right? Which now impacts your financial directly.
Mhm.
And so to me, it feels that the difference is, am I gonna keep looking towards, oh, there are not enough clients in the world and people don't want to work with me because I'm from this small island, and or am I going to learn and really reflect on what do I have influence on? And I
Mhm.
think that that's the difference in the dynamic, that when
Mhm.
you're showing up, whether it's in your business as a CEO, but also at the core of it in your life, are you
Mhm.
telling yourself stories and are you hearing yourself talking in a way that things are constantly happening to you versus you shifting, okay, there is a lot of 80% I don't have no control on, but am I
Mhm.
focusing on that 20% I do have control on? And
Mhm.
am I really, really, really like working on that?
Mhm.
And that to me is the difference. And
Mhm.
when you have kids that you need to feed and you want them to have a good life and
Mhm.
you didn't start your business or shift career to be at a worse place. You do that
Mhm.
because you want to be at a better place. And
Mhm.
in order for you to achieve that, you will have to start shifting the way that you think, and
Mhm.
you will have to really understand the identity that comes from being the creator of your life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's not something that's going to be magically, but it
Yeah.
really starts with understanding, oh, I keep telling the story of how terrible my boss is. I keep telling
Mhm.
the story about my colleagues and how they're underperforming. But why have I not? How come I have not made a choice to leave? If
Mhm.
I would be being treated in my relationship and the way, like, let's just say you're not talking about your work, but
Mhm.
you're talking about it as if it's a partner. Would you
Mhm.
have stayed? No.
Mhm.
And often I hear that they keep explaining and they're so stuck in the story of what it's all happening to them at work.
Mhm.
And by focusing on that and like grabbing that as a reason why you're still there, it's not gonna make you move forward. And so it
Mhm.
starts with like with a huge amount of honesty. And
Mhm.
so I remember that moment that I was like, okay, I'm sitting here waiting for them to give me like this holding handshake because then I would have enough money to quit. And I
Mhm.
thought that's crazy, because the last thing that the type of women that works with me wants is to be dependable. They
Mhm.
are high achievers, hardworking women, ambitious, and they want to make it better for themselves. And
Mhm.
unconsciously, they are unaware that they are like really stuck in this dependability because
Mhm.
of the uncertainty that comes from that next career step.
Mhm. Mhm. One of the things that you had mentioned was, like showing up for your kids. And so I'm assuming that a lot of the people who will be watching this, will have kids, right? And that changes the dynamic a lot because
Yes.
now it's, you're not just risking yourself, you're also risking your kids, right? Like at the end of the day, they're your responsibility. So what was that like for you? Taking this leap, like, and how did it also affect, my question is, how did this transformation within yourself affect you as a mom and your parenting as well?
Um, it impacted the person that I am right now. Like I experienced getting out of the cage at 27 with a burnout. I was working at one of the top three companies in Europe. And so that was really scary, but it really
Mhm.
prepared me for when I had to make this choice. Because I think that the word that the majority of us hear is that it's irresponsible.
Mhm.
But I experienced with my burnout what it felt to be so miserable that you cannot get out of bed. And I
Uh-huh.
never wanted to be there. And so I felt within my whole being that if I continue on this path, I was going to experience a second burnout.
Uh-huh.
And I then understood that it felt out of integrity to continue
Mhm.
because I was telling my kids, you can achieve everything. You need to like really show up and do your best, and that's what it needs. But
Mhm.
I was not doing that.
Mhm.
And so it felt to me that I was not walking my talk, and integrity is like one of my values. So it felt out of integrity, but it also felt like irresponsible, yeah, to stay
Mhm.
in where I
Mhm.
was,
Yeah.
because that would have meant that I knew what was coming if I would stay. I knew that I would maybe change my job to another HR manager position somewhere else on the island, but then still be miserable within a year and still be
Mhm.
this mom with short temper, tired,
Mhm.
not having energy to spend with my kids. And so at
Mhm.
a certain point, you need to really redefine for yourself, okay, but what is irresponsible? And so you don't want to be irresponsible by placing your kids in a financial situation that they're going to suffer either. And so
Mhm.
the solution is learning how to make this work,
Uh-huh.
learning how to transition while you're still making money. And so
Uh-huh.
that's why I do not recommend to anyone to just jump and do what I
Yeah.
did and quit and
Yeah.
you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because that's not healthy as well. And there are other
Mhm.
ways. Looking in hindsight, I think that there are different ways right now that I teach women in how to become the person that can run a business or
Mhm.
make the career change that they want.
Mhm.
Heal the things that are going to stand in your way when you're in your business, because it's not that you then suddenly do what you love and life is not gonna life.
Mhm.
As well as really have a strategy on how to create income, because
Mhm.
it is important. Money is important, and
Mhm.
money gives you freedom in ways
Yeah.
that you would not have. And also, being at a job that you're miserable is terrible for your health. Like it's
Mhm.
terrible for your health.
Mhm.
Running a business constantly on survival is also terrible for your health. And it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that way. And so
Mhm.
yes, you want to do it for the right reasons, but it's important to really understand that there is a process to that, and there are things that you need to unlearn in order for you to like really get that sense of freedom. And so a big misconception is that women think that it's circumstantial, right? Like I'm
Uh-huh.
overwhelmed, I'm tired, I'm drained because of the circumstances I'm in. And so then they change to a next career step. But because you haven't done the inner work, you are recreating exactly the same thing. And
Uh-huh.
it's a big misconception that just changing the circumstances are going to magically create that. And freedom doesn't only come, you can have a lot of money and still feel like really that you cannot take a day off to enjoy it with your kids, right? And
Uh-huh.
so what we want to create is that sense of resourcefulness, because we keep doing that for the employer you're working in. And so you want to translate that into that next career step that you want to step into.
Mhm.
And that comes from the inside out. And I had to
Mhm.
learn it like really the hard way by at the beginning, like really financially having the struggles that I went through, to learn the things that I know now that I
Mhm.
teach my clients.
Mhm. Okay. So you had said the word hindsight, and we always say hindsight is 2020. Looking back on your career path, is there anything that you wish you had done differently, or like things that you're like, okay, maybe that wasn't the best idea or that wasn't the smartest move at the time? Like, are those things that you would have changed on your journey, or are you like completely happy with how everything went?
It's such a double question. I think that I can coach my clients because I experience the thing that I experience, right?
Yeah.
So, when I hop on a call with someone, I can detect right away, oh no, like you know exactly what you want, right? And it comes
Mhm.
because I was in denial for so long. Um, and so the struggles that I experience are really helpful in my business. The one thing that I wish I knew sooner was fear. How to
Mm.
know the difference, and identify that it's fear, because I
Mhm.
think that it would have made me. It's like actually funny that when I was doing my human resource education, I was one of the first cohort that was introduced to coaching,
Mhm.
but I'm the good girl and we're going for the financial security. And so in my major direction, I chose human resource management instead of coaching.
Mhm.
But I loved every that thing that was part of that part of my education. I
Mhm.
just felt that is not the responsible thing. And
Mhm.
so knowing and understanding how fear impacts you and how it impacts the things you do, but mostly the things you don't do, I think I wish that I knew that sooner, because I think it would have like really shortened time
Mhm.
with a lot of things. Sometimes
Mhm.
and the best way that I kind of can describe it is like you have conversations with fear. You don't have conversations with intuition.
Mhm.
Like intuition is this, you're getting out of the house, your keys are inside, and you would lock yourself out. And it's like, get your keys.
Mhm.
Check this. Like it's like those whispers of things, right?
Mhm.
Your gut feeling. Like this feels like a complete yes or no.
Mhm.
Fear, you have extensive conversations and pros and cons with fear. And so understanding when something is yours and not, and understanding that fear is the one making the call would have saved me a lot of headaches
Mm.
and a lot of suffering.
Mhm.
And I
I
think that
see.
that is something that keeps a lot of people in a job suffering versus really understanding, oh, but it's fear.
Mhm.
How can I then, what are the actions that I need to take so that I have addressed that? Some when
Mhm.
there's a tiger in front of you, that's a legit fear. But a
Mhm.
lot of fears are thing. I never ended up living under a bridge. That never
Mhm.
happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I did financially struggle, but I was not kicked out of my house. And so because I was able to really understand, okay, but then what can I do to
Mhm.
fix this?
Mhm.
And you want to show up in that way. And I
Mhm.
learned through all the career changes, as well as becoming a mom, um, that it's so important to really understand, oh, this is fear making a decision for me. And
Mhm.
my job is then to mitigate that and find ways to make it work so that I have a backup plan. I have a
Mhm.
solution for this.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
extensive answer. Sorry.
Well, I think the thing about fear is that once we kind of like identify it and rationalize it and break it down, like your fear of living under a bridge, like was that really ever a realistic possibility? Like other than the fact that there are no bridges in Aruba.
No,
Yeah.
because I think that that's
Yeah.
what once I said it,
Yeah.
it felt like
Like
you
that's
have
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? And so wouldn't you go and live with a relative before that? Wouldn't you find two
Yeah.
jobs before you
Yeah.
reach that point?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you just go and clean houses? I don't know. You would have
Yeah.
found the way to
Yeah.
generate income. Because if there is something that I learned through the whole COVID experience is that like we are wired to survive.
Mhm.
Like we are wired to survive. And so
Mhm.
um what I love about what I do is exactly that. I get you to see, oh, but this is fear. Okay, what can we do about that? And so
Mhm.
let's transition. Like what needs to
Mhm.
be in place for you to transition?
Mhm.
And there's a different approach instead of like spending a lot of time because it's like having a gum in your mouth that lost its taste and you're
Yeah.
chewing on it,
Yeah.
thinking about the worst case scenarios and strategizing about a lot of things that do not happen. And it's not
Mhm.
only in my story, like
Mhm.
in general, our worst case scenarios do not become a reality.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that also it takes up so much energy. Like there's so much energy that we put toward these fears that are often like not realistically going to happen or like unfounded or there's like okay there's a 2% chance that this is going to
Yeah.
happen, so why am I going to spend like 100% of my energy worrying about something that has a 2% likelihood of happening? Like it just doesn't make sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, like,
And I
the f
want to add something to this because I recently had a conversation with someone, and so I offer the Freedom Leap is my group coaching program, and it's like designed with these elements: strategy, the part of identity, as well as working on healing the things that you need to heal. And so
Mhm,
um, is like really doing everything in her power to be able to quit her job. And that includes remodeling the house because you think then that's the thing. And they got a new car because then if I'm on my own, it's more difficult to get a car loan, things like that. Right. And
mhm,
so, but then this happened that she wanted to join the program because it's exactly what she needs. She knows that. But then
mhm,
something in in the remodeling of the house did not go as planned. And what fear does is instead of showing up as the creator of your life, how if I would now be 100% working in my business, how would I handle this?
mhm,
What happened is that she then take a step back
mhm,
because when you show up dependable to your circumstances, that's what you do.
mhm,
And so she then thought it's not a good timing, but it's never going to be a good timing.
mhm. Yeah, and that's, I think, the thing that people need to recognize is that there is never a perfect time to take the leap, right? Like, when was the best time to plant a tree? Well, like, 20 years ago, but the next best time to plant a tree
Love
is
that. Yeah.
today, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
And so like really learning that is so essential.
Mhm,
Like so essential because it's just not going that part of life is not going to disappear once you start doing the thing you love.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
just you need to really know the difference and figure it out. That's your
mhm,
job. You need to
mhm,
figure it out. Your strategy is calm your nervous system and
mhm,
figure it out. No
mhm,
one else is going to do that for you. And you've been doing that for so long for a boss. And
mhm.
now the calling is, hey, can you do that for yourself?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you show up for yourself the same way that you show up at work, making everything happen, hitting the
Mhm,
targets, doing the thing, but
mhm.
now for yourself? And
Yeah,
you can.
yeah.
You really can.
I love that. We are about at time. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we end the show?
I don't know. I feel that I was all over the place.
No, it was so good. It was so
Like I
good.
can just talk
Yeah,
and talk and
yeah.
talk.
So you
And I
have a
haven't done
group.
this in a what?
Yeah, you
Sorry.
have a group coaching plan program.
Program.
Yes,
Yes. I
yes.
offer group coaching program. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And where can people find that?
So I offer a free career audit.
Okay.
I like to bring clarity. I think that once you know you have clarity about what your next step is, it
Mhm.
really reveals very clearly when it's fear.
Mhm.
And what to do next. And so
Mhm.
it's an online call, and you can find it on Instagram.
Okay.
If you look up Ana Maria Tromp LLC or Coach and Bounds, which locally is the one that I use,
Okay.
you can book it, and we hop on a call, and I give you that clarity. And so part of my services is as well joining my group coaching program, which has everything that I wish that I had back in 2022
Mhm.
when I jump full-time in my business.
Yeah.
And so in the program, I help women really implement their human design, have a strategy as they experience how to learn to make money before they quit their job. I think that that's very important.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then the transition goes easier, and you are not being held back. And it also, this is very important when you're this high achiever perfectionist woman, you want to see progress. And this is a way in which you're doing both. And there is like also the mindset that needs to shift, because what I always say is you need to stop showing up as an A student at your job when you know that you want to go in a different direction. And when you're a good girl, that's very difficult. Like that's
Yes.
really challenging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Amazing. Well, we will put the links to your socials and
Okay.
the website and everything in the link or in the description below. So thank you so much, Ana Maria, for being here. I feel like we could continue talking forever. So
I know. Send me your details. If you can send me your details, I'll run your chart. And
that would
I'll
be
give you,
amazing.
yeah, and I'll give
Yeah.
you some pointers with that.
Okay. Amazing.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much for
Samantha.
being
Thank
here.
you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
DJ sabe.